All right, guys, I hope you're doing amazing. This is another episode of the Happy Doc, and I'm going to get right into the episode for today. So I decided to call this one False Tigers and Invisible Cages. So, in my work in therapy, group therapy, getting to have pretty intimate conversations with people, I noticed that one of the most common cognitive bias or false ways of thinking that I see is catastrophizing. And I wanted to think about that for a while because I just thought it would be important to reflect on, why do people catastrophize? Why does that happen? And it dawned on me, I think it's, one of the reasons why it happens is because it is actually really effective to be in a negative mindset. It protects you. You are protected from the world when you catastrophize. When you get really nervous about something, when you're not able to have that conversation you need to have, when you don't take the action to go for something that maybe you need to advocate yourself for, maybe there's a situation that needs to be dealt with, but you just don't take the action that's necessary because your mind is going to the worst possible scenario. It is a very good protective mechanism, right? Biologically speaking, if we think about evolution and where humans come from, if there was a tiger, if there were creatures out in the wild, you needed to be on defense. You need to look at the possible ways to keep yourself safe. If you lived in a cave, you need to think about the worst case scenarios in order to plan ahead, in order to protect yourself. The thing is we do not live in a world of real tigers anymore. We live in a world of false tigers. We're creating a false tiger every time we catastrophize. When we get into this state of mind, we enter panic, we enter the fight, flee, or freeze response, as opposed to staying relaxed, staying calm, and looking at the reality of the situation, looking at all the possible scenarios, including the positives and the negative ones. And if you are thinking about the worst case scenario, how can you think about the situation in order to elevate the possible negative experience, or to think in different ways so that negative experience doesn't even happen? When we catastrophize, we are looking at one possible scenario, one possible way that something can turn out, without respecting that there are so many, and in fact, probably infinite ways that things can go, and the negative or the worst case scenario is just one of them. Do not create a false tiger when that tiger isn't even real. We're actually, for the most part, incredibly safe in life, and you want to take things into reality. You want to look at the situation and what you're actually afraid of and respect it for where it's at, instead of creating a tiger out of nothing. So there's my 2 cents on catastrophizing. There's obviously so much more to talk about with it, and it's very specific to the situation. But whatever it is that you're afraid of, whatever it is that you do not want to do, whatever conversation or action you don't want to take, just put it into perspective, put it into the reality of your situation, and don't make it bigger or smaller than it needs to be. Obviously, some situations you should be very nervous, you should be very afraid, and you should take the proper action. And of course, in some situations, there's nothing to be afraid of. So again, just some food for thought there. Now, the invisible cages is something else I wanted to think about, because quite often when I'm working with people, whether we were programmed previously by family members or by life situations or whatever, a lot of times we create, because we're so used to our life situation, maybe we're going through a transition, or we're changing our situation, or, maybe you're making more money, maybe you're making less money, whatever it is, whatever transition or where you're at currently, we often tend to put our life in what I'm calling the cage, or you create a schema or way of thinking where you have to continue to live the way you used to live. And whether your improvement, like in position in life, or life is getting harder, you have a hard time, or people have a hard time in general, and I can say I have a hard time also, living life in a different way. So let me give a concrete example. So for example, let's say that you go from making, I don't know, let's say you make $30,000 a year, and all of a sudden your income jumps up to $50,000 a year. So when you change your income, there is a possibility that you might continue to live at that 30K level. There's nothing wrong with that if you want to save or invest in those types of things. But it's okay to increase your lifestyle. It's okay to change things up. It's okay to allow yourself to be in the reality of your situation and, elevate your lifestyle. It's also okay and absolutely fine that when life situations change and you're not able to make as much money, as an example, that you downgrade your lifestyle. It just depends on where you're at, and it's okay to change things. It's okay to travel and try something new. It's okay to get out of your comfortable zone and realize that you're not in a cage. You don't have to keep doing the things that you're doing. You can break patterns. You don't have to be the person you were when you were in high school. You don't have to be the person you were when you were in middle school. You can be your authentic self and who you are now and break out of this cage or opinions or belief patterns or systems that other people have boxed you into. You can be yourself. And I think a lot of people create these cages or create a belief system around themselves, caging them in to their current situation instead of just being who they are, instead of just doing the things that they can do now that is authentic to them, right? So what I'm really trying to get to is, look at, when it comes to these like false tigers, invisible cages, look at the current reality of your situation, be in the present moment, take account of what you would like to do, what you would like to achieve, the goals you want, and just be true to yourself and don't catastrophize. Think about things in an overall holistic picture, and don't cage yourself in. If there's something you want to go for, or if there's something that you would like to change up, or if there's a conversation or a pattern you'd like to change, have the conversations and take the actions. Don't box yourself in. Instead, free yourself. You're always free. It's always possible to do what you would like to do, and respect that. And don't cage yourself in, because life is honestly in my opinion, a very open canvas. And as long as we're able to be real and authentic and communicate effectively, we can really get to where we would like to go. It's not as hard as we think, but we live quite often so much in our minds, we let that control us instead of just looking at things as they are. So those are my 2 cents for today. And really, this comes down to catastrophizing and creating limiting beliefs about your situation instead of opening things up and looking at it in a different way. And then after looking at it in a different way, acting in a different way. So I hope that was helpful. I hope that gave you some food for thought. And when you listen to these episodes, think for yourself. Think how you might apply this information. Think about how you might look at things a little bit different so that you can be the self that you want to be and enjoy life a little bit more, have more meaning, enjoy the opportunity to be in this moment and to keep doing things as you'd like to and as how you would like to grow and how you'd like to move. So without further ado, I'm going to close out this episode for today. If you enjoyed that episode, please leave a 5-star review on iTunes or on whatever podcasting channel that you use. Please share this episode with a friend if you found it useful, and I will see you on the next episode of The Happy Doc.